guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am in Zeeland, Michigan at Walter's Gardens. Walter's Gardens is the grower of the proven winners, annuals and perennials, and I wanted to take you through their garden. Not only is this a growing facility, but it's the home of a gorgeous garden full of inspiration. And I always tell people, if you're stuck in your garden and you don't know what to do as far as plant combinations, what's going to work in your space, get out of your garden and get into someone else's garden. So we are going to get into Walter's garden and have a look at all these gorgeous plant combinations they have, loaded with ideas. There's a shade garden, sun garden, there's a moon garden, there's a mangave garden. So we're going to get into that and have a look at everything and just look at their plant combinations and see what's working. I made a list yesterday as I was touring through of all the things that I loved, and there are certain parts of my garden that I'm stuck in, and now I've got some ideas for what's going to work there, and that is the best way to add more interest to your garden and get unstuck. So let's get into it. I'm going to flip this around and we're going to walk through. I'm walking across the parking lot to get over to the mangave garden first. So I love mangave. I've had them in my garden for about 5 years, a couple different varieties. And granted, they're not hardy in my zone. I'm a 5B, 6A. So I do bring mine in for the winter time. You can keep them in a south-facing window or under grow lights if you have them. They do great. You don't need to water them. Matter of fact, if you overwater them while you're overwintering them, you will kill them. So I might water them once for the winter and I'm done. But mangave is a cross between the manfreda plant and the agave. So it's got the interesting attributes of both plants, and they have the most gnarly shapes, colorings, just really cool plant. And they can also take a little bit more water. So, they'll grow to the space that you have them in. So if you keep them in a container, they might be a little smaller, put them in the ground, maybe give them a little more water, don't overwater them, they'll get bigger. And let me flip this around and show you what I'm looking at. All right, it's a little after 7, the sun is just starting to come up, and doesn't this look otherworldly? I mean, it's a bed full of mangave, and if you've seen some of my stories on Instagram or on YouTube, I've done a bit on flowering mangave. So what happens with mangave when they flower, that is a sign that they're coming to the end of their life. And the flowers, they're just so interesting and incredibly pollinator friendly. So they get so tall. I think these look like they might be 10 feet tall. But then if you look at the base of the plant, the mother plant, which is forming the flower, has all these pups in here. So you can separate the pups and create more plants so that you're never without the mangave that you love. So there's all different forms in here. My most favorite one, and I'll take you over there if I can find that one in the bed here. One of my most favorite ones is called Lavender Lady. This might be her here. Nope, that is Purple People Eater. They have the funniest names too, but I mean, such different shapes. Some are toothier than others, not as sharp as the agaves, but some can be a little, you gotta be a little careful if you have them in the landscape. Look at this guy over here. Another flower on these. I mean, just such cool flowers. Another one that I think is really interesting is this Praying Hands here. But it does look like something from another world. Let's go around the other side and have a look at these big guys over here. Here's Lavender Lady right here. And when the sun hits her, she's got this gorgeous lavender cast to her. And she's really, really beautiful. And there's such unique shapes. This one's, this is called dreadlocks and just completely flattened out. And they're all so different. And so you might be asking, why would I put mangave in my garden? I mean, it is a little more work, so you have to be mindful of the fact that you're gonna have to bring them in. I think the cold hardiest form is the one called Bad Hair Day. So, and then I think the rest are hardy to about zone 9. So yeah, you're going to have to dig them up if you've planted them in the landscape or put them in pots. You're gonna have to bring them in for the winter. But they're really low maintenance after that. I had a friend of mine tell me that she brings hers in and keeps them in an unheated garage. It doesn't have any light in it. It doesn't have any natural light coming in. and then she puts hers back out for the winter time or for the summertime, and they do fine. So I think if you're okay with doing that, it's a really interesting way to add some, like a kind of a sculptural effect to your garden, and you don't need a lot of them. Put them out in a container, put them in the landscape, underplant them with maybe some sedum, some smaller things to really set off the shape of your mangave. And look at this one. Look how tall that gets. And if you're not into that, I mean, mangave is an acquired taste, I think. I just find them so interesting, and I love underplanting my silver fox. I've shared that often. That is my favorite. I love underplanting that with some alyssum. It just looks so pretty, that delicate texture of the alyssum with the very sharp leaf shapes of the mangave. It just looks so good together, and I'm going to take you over here and show you another example of that. And here's a perfect example of what I was just telling you about, the small foliage planted around more interesting textured plants. So this is Cerastium cloud cover. It's a great ground cover, and look at where it's growing, guys. When you're looking at plants, pay attention to how they're growing in other people's landscapes. This is a parking lot. It's a gravel parking lot. So obviously this is gonna like sharp drainage, as does the mangave. So this one here is night owl mangave, and then they underplanted it with the Cerastium cloud cover. And then there's some Artemisia back here. Is that silver brocade? I'm trying to remember the name of that. I'll put it, if I can't remember names of these plants, I will put them up on the screen so that you have that information. But look at how they put it with some sedum. Looks great together. It's a really interesting textures, interesting colors. They threw some yucca in here. And I'm really digging this yucca. I love the shape of this. Typically the yuccas we're used to where, you know, they've got all the foliage down low and then that flower spike is super tall. This new form, this is Dragon Slayer. So it's more compact and it just looks a bit more, I don't know, balanced, I guess. And it looks really cool with all these interesting shapes in this bed. So maybe you don't want to do mangave. You could underplant, you know, your sedum with a ground cover like this and have the same effect and have interesting colors and textures. And a very pollinator-friendly plant. And this also, before I carry on here, I believe this gets a little white flower on it. And then the sedum, I mean, you've got a great pollinator magnet here with the sedum. And before I move on here, look at the way the dew is on the grass here. These are all interesting attributes in a garden. You know, think about, I think that's some sort of a panicum, I'm not sure which one, but think about the way, the movement in your garden, how things are going to look when dew is on. I mean, that's absolutely beautiful. It looks like it's shimmering. It looks like glitter on the influences of this grass. And then there's some Gara back in here. Lots going on, and they're just playing with shapes, colors, and textures. And the eucomis, this pineapple lily, is just so cool. This is Purple Rain. And then there's another mangave around here. This one looks like it's blood splattered, called, I think this is Totally Obsessed. Look at the color pattern on that. And if you decide you're going to grow these and you're going to bring them in for the winter, just be prepared for the coloration on the mangave. They will fade. I mean, they need that ultraviolet light. They need the sunlight to bring out all of these color splotches. So when you bring them in the house for the winter, all of those things will fade and they'll just be very light. And as soon as you reintroduce them outside, that coloration will come back. So they'll look kind of muddy for the winter, but nobody cares about that because you're storing it anyway. And then this way is their entire lineup of perennial hibiscus. So if you've not grown perennial hibiscus, these are very slow to wake up in the springtime. So when I first grew them, I made the mistake of digging them up because I thought it was dead. I didn't see any growth coming on. This was about 20 years ago, and I think I was growing one called, might have been Lady Lord Baltimore. It was a red one. Anyway, dug it up because I thought it was dead. Didn't know any better, but they're very slow to wake. But these are great for late season color. I mean, I think this one's cookies and cream here. got the dark foliage, a bit more compact. And then there's another one I want to show you. I mean, look at this. They're so pretty. You just have to be patient with these guys because they're like, you know, Rose of Sharon. If you grow Rose of Sharon, Rose of Sharon is slow to wake up too. It's all part of the same family. So this one is called Edge of Night. Look at that, you guys. Beautiful. And they're not, I mean, it's early in the morning. It's only about 50 degrees out here, but these will open up and so pretty. But the nice thing, let me step back here and show you how compact this plant is. They can get really big, but if you grow in a small space, I mean, you need something more compact and floriferous. And then you've got the added color of the dark foliage. This gets to be about 3 by 4, so 3 feet tall, 3.5 to 4 feet wide, I believe. But it's a beautiful little plant. So if you're looking for that contrast, that deep color, kind of dramatic, this is Edge of Night hibiscus or perennial hibiscus. Just be patient with it. Very slow to wake up in the spring. But let's walk the full line here. So something, you know, late season color, you know, these things, some come on later than others. So, you know, it extends your season of interest. But for northern gardeners, you may not want to plant this because they're so slow to wake up. So it's all personal preference. Look at this is a big guy. This is evening rose. And I think that's the one that I have in my side yard. That's a big one. And if you're into red, there's a deep red one down here. This is their most popular one. This is called Holy Grail. And she's big and dark-leaved, but a very good sized plant. I'd say she's probably about 4 feet tall and about 4.5, probably about 4.5 feet wide. So if you've got the space for it and you love red and dark foliage, Holy Grail is a good one. Now I'm going to take you into some mixed beds here, and these are full sun beds. And I want to show you the one thing that really jumped out at me that I have never grown before, but as soon as I saw it and I saw the bumbles on it, I thought, how do I get my hands on that? So let me show you. This bed, as soon as I saw it, I needed to get closer to this plant right here. This is Crocosmia peach melba. There were bees all over it. I've never grown Crocosmia. So this is hardy in zones 5 to 9, gets to be about 2.5 to 3 feet tall and about 18 to 24 inches wide. But what's interesting about it is it's a beautiful orange. It's got some pinks in it, but look at the way the dew sits on it too. And then coming around the backside, they've paired it with some Panicum October Sky, and I'm loving the way the dew is sitting on these inflorescent skies. These are so pretty. And the thing about the Crocosmia, the peach melba Crocosmia, is it's kind of a see-through plant, and it also provides movement, much like the grass would too. But when the wind blows, all of these flower stalks are moving, the bees are loving it, and then you're left with these gorgeous little seed heads when they're done flowering. And another interest is the foliage too. It's got the spiky foliage to it. Only gets to be like 18 to 24 wide, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And I've never grown it before, so I don't know how successful I'm going to be with this. This is kind of a new to me plant, but it's beautiful. And you can see it woven through the middle of this garden, and all the flowers just kind of sit and arch. And when the wind was blowing yesterday, all of that was moving, and it was really pretty. And looking into this bed, there are a couple different varieties of I can never say it. It's prairie blue stem, but there are a few different varieties. This one is Blue Heaven, I think. Yeah, that's Blue Heaven. This is a gorgeous plant. So you've got all the blue foliage. You can see some of the burgundy in there. And then as we get into late summer, into the fall, this goes red, and it's so dramatic. And there's a smaller form over here. I believe this one is Brush Strokes. And they've paired that with some Coreopsis in here, and I'm not sure of the variety on this one. It's not marked, but blue and red does looks beautiful together. And before I leave this bed, so lots of really cool grasses, and I want to point out this grass here. This is a smaller form of Stroll or prairie dropseed called Gone with the Wind. Look at this beautiful arching inflorescence. So I have the species form, which is quite a bit bigger, and I'm considering taking it out and replacing it with this because I just feel like because it's more compact, I think it'll look more kept under the space. I have it growing underneath my heptacodium or my Seven Suns tree, and I think I might be replacing it with Gone with the Wind. But again, you can't beat the grass, you guys. I mean, the colors, they change, they're easy, and just the interest with the dew on it, I mean, it's just really, really beautiful. And backlit with the sunrise, so pretty. So Spirabolus, think about Spirabolus and Schizo, I can never say it, little blue stem or little blue stem, but great plants, low maintenance, and adds, you've got multi-season interest there, you've got something for the pollinators and something for you. And grasses, you can weave them in anything, especially ones that are dwarf forms, narrow growth habits. So they've got them growing with some Heliopsis, there's some Delphinium in here, some Echinacea, there's Sedum, so you can mix it in and create all of those interesting textures. There's some Yucca down here, and really make it interesting. This is that new Yucca. This is Dragon Slayer, the more compact form, with some Heliopsis back here. But yeah, you can look at how interesting this is. Lots of shapes. And Allium is a perfect example. This is a variety called Bubble Bath. Look at the flower heads on this. Not quite the size of a baseball, I would say maybe a tennis ball. But this too, you can leave this up in the wintertime and you've got winter interest. You also have an incredible pollinator plant, low maintenance. I mean, you could divide this up many times too and create more plants, give them away, but it's such an easy plant to grow and I love easy. So definitely consider any form of allium. There's Millennium, there's several different varieties, Serendipity, lavender bubbles, many different types, but look at the interest that shape adds to the garden. So you've got the grasses back here, there's some Alstroemeria, another grass in the back. I'm not sure which one that is, but you can really do a lot with, considering shapes. And when these are really easy plants too, I mean, it's even better because that means less work for you. So this is a variety called Bubble Bath. And again, looking at texture and ease, I mean, and this grass back here is just, it's just perfect. But they've paired that with, we've got some catmint. This might be the new one, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, lemon. I forget the name. I'll put it on the screen. But this is a sedum here. This one's called Midnight Velvet. But look at the shapes on it. You've got the deep foliage, the beautiful kind of raspberry colored flowers. The catmint is flowering. You cut catmint back multiple times in the summer. You'll get a rebloom. The grass, that too is glittering right now. And all of these things are great winter interest too for the most part. And then Aruncus. I think Aruncus or goat's beard is one of the most underused plants in a dry shade garden. Mine does well in dry shade. It's a really easy plant. And this is just 3 types of plants here. You got the Aruncus, I think that's the Spirabolus again, the Gone with the Wind, the Midnight Velvet sedum, and some catmint, and you've got a garden. And granted, these are bigger spaces, so you can tone this down, do fewer plants, and maybe you just want to do a sedum and a grass and some catmint, and you've got interesting color, interesting texture, and you've got multi-season interest and pollinator friendliness. I was going to take you to another bed, but I've got to show you the backlight on this. This is Lemon Squeeze Pennisetum. I have this in my garden as well. Mine is not this big yet, but look at the way the light shines through on those inflorescences. Really gorgeous. And this one has a chartreuse colored leaf. And then I think this is Edge of Night hibiscus next to it. So a little bit, the smaller hibiscus with some sedum again. I love sedum. It's so easy. And then Amsonia. So Amsonia, this one is called String Theory, I believe. And Amsonia gets these really cute little blue flowers in the springtime. And then it's this kind of green, thready foliage. And then in the fall, the fall color is what it's known for. Beautiful orange, fiery orange colors in the garden. So you've got interesting texture here and fall color. Another great combination here for late season is Coral Jade Sedum. We're going to see a lot of sedum, guys, because it's beautiful, easy, pollinator friendly, and it has multi-season interest. You can leave these flowers up for the winter time, and they're gorgeous with snow on them. And then this is an anemone. What is this one? Dreaming Swan. I love anemone. Great late season plant. You got to be careful with certain varieties. My honorine Jobert is becoming a thug, so I have to dig that out. I'm not sure about the growth habit on Dreaming Swan, but anemone, look at that with the sedum. Anemone is such a great plant for late summer into fall flowering, and very pollinator friendly too. Look at all the colors and textures in this bed. So you've got some heuchera in the front. We've got more sedum. This is coral jade again. This wispy kind of see-through plant back here, that's a sanguisorba variety. That's not on the market yet, but sanguisorba, I think it's also called Burnett. Really interesting plant, really cool little flower heads on it. And then they've woven in some mangave in the front of it, but see what I mean when you underplant a really sculptural plant with something kind of a ground cover, and this is Yellow Brick Road sedum underneath that. So there you can do so much with sedum, guys, and it's so easy. We've got some more prairie blue stem in here. This is the Blue Heaven variety that's going to color up. And then more of the mangave. We've got some delosperma down here, which doesn't do well in my garden. My garden soil is just too heavy. Here in Michigan, the soil is very sandy. And you can kind of get an idea of where things like to grow. This is, again, on the edge of a driveway, gravel driveway. So we've got sedum in here, the mangave, and the delosperma. And these flowers, it doesn't look like much right now, but as soon as the sun hits it and it warms up, beautiful little flowers all over it. Really nice underplanting for the mangave. And here's a heptacodium. So Proven Winners variety is one called Temple of Bloom, and they've underplanted it with some Amsonia and some allium. So this is a great late season interest planting. So you're going to have, this is going to open soon, about to pop. And the cool thing about heptacodium is that it seems like it has two seasons of, two bloom seasons. So you've got the white flowers, pollinators will be all over it, and then as soon as those flowers go away, the sepals will turn this gorgeous, brilliant red color. So then you pair that with the Amsonia down here, which is going to go orange, and then you've got the textural, the color on the allium will go, but you still have the shape, the ball shapes of those flowers. So now you've got, you've used 3 plants here. You've got the Temple of Bloom heptacodium, the Amsonia, and the allium, and you have this wonderful pairing. Now, if you're a fan of Buddleia, I don't have any luck with it other than I do well with the Pugster series for some reason. But I just wanted to show you this. Look at the giant blooms on this Buddleia. This is one of the cascades. I'm not sure which one this is. I'll have to look that up and put it on the screen. But look at that. And paired it with some Amsonia. There's some daylily that's gone over and some little blue stem. There's salvia in this bed, but look at the Buddleia is the star of the show here, and loaded with pollinators. Not right now, it's a little cold for it yet, but later in the day it will be. And here in this bed, the standout for me is I'm a fall gardener, or I really focus on fall blooming plants. And this one here, this is another anemone. I believe this is Fall in Love Sweetly. Much better behaved than my honorine Jobert. I have a few of these in another part of the garden. They're small yet, but they paired that with more sedum. You guys, sedums, these low-growing sedums are great ground cover plants. When you cover the ground with plants, you have less weed issues. You're covering the soil, so the weeds are not being exposed to that sunlight. They simply don't grow, and then you've got beautiful low-maintenance plants like this sedum here, just doing its thing. But this is Fall in Love Sweetly anemone. And then another great plant combination. You've got, again, sedum. Not sure which one this is. This might be Pop Star, but then they've paired it with some Dark Side of the Moon astilbe. So a little bit different water needs in this bed here. The astilbe, very thirsty, water-loving plant. So maybe you just spot water that. But your sedums are they're xeric plants. They can take very little, they don't need a whole lot of water to grow. You certainly don't want to fertilize your sedum. I don't fertilize them. That will just make them spread out, and then you're just spraying everywhere. They will not stand upright. But look at the way it just kind of flows in here, and you've got those different color. You've got the different colors in here. You've got the contrast, and then the interesting seed heads from the flower plumes that have gone over. So you've got more interest there. And then in this spot here, hi kitty. Look at this plant combination. So they've used a giant Hosta, Age of Gold Hosta, with some more Fall in Love Sweetly anemone and some panicum back here. That might be October Skies. And then there's some astilbe back here and more grass and just so much texture going on, and kitties that are following me. But yeah, so it's just an interesting bed with done with very easy to grow plants. I wanted to show you another thing. This caught my eye yesterday. I've never seen a standard form buddleia. So this is a butterfly bush, and they dig this out every fall and bring it indoors to keep it growing. In our zone, these get killed to the ground. We would never be able to keep something out, all year long like this. But that is a buddleia tree. Look at the flowers on that. And again, underplanted it. There's some painted fern in here, and then some more fall in love sweetly anemone. Great fall, just a late season planting. And for those of you that are into hosta gardens, you don't want to miss this. I'm not going to identify every hosta here, but look at all the color and texture. So they've woven hosta in with Hackanachoa, or no, wait, maybe that's a sedge. That could be a sedge down here. I think it is actually. What does it say? Yeah, that's a sedge. This is Evercolor, Everillo. Yep, and then there's some hellebore in here, fern, and they've just, all of these things work so well together with all of their interesting colors, textures, and leaf shapes. I mean, you've got the plumes of the astilbe that they leave up. You don't have to cut those things back, guys. Leave them up to make your garden interesting. I mean, when the snow accumulates on that, or the dew, this here, you've just got an interesting, makes the garden that much more interesting and more even lovelier to look at. So let's just carry on the path. So there's the boom chocolata geranium in here, lining the edge of the path here. Another great plant. And look at the plumes on the astilbe here, paired with the hosta. Now this is a good plant pairing because hosta and astilbe, both water-loving plants, so you can pair those guys together. They're going to like the same conditions. They don't want full sun, so maybe some morning sun, afternoon shade on those guys. More aruncus. I love aruncus. This is a variety, this here. This is called Chantilly lace, and you guys, I think, like I said, very underused plant. Really nice spring, like late spring, early summer flowers, white flowers on it, and it gets some great fall color. And then behind it, here you've got some more Hackanachoa grass. These are massive, massive hostas. There's some phlox in here. And I think this is their the Rudbeckia. This is one called Treasure Trove. I think that's their new one. And they've paired that with some purple, some phlox here. What phlox is that? Material Girl phlox. It's a really nice combination, the purple and the yellow. Material Girl phlox and Treasure Trove Rudbeckia. And then here's some Baptisia, which is interesting. It's the flowers in the spring. The seed heads that are left on it, very interesting, black seed heads. And the color on that foliage is so beautiful. There's some Alstroemeria back there. And look at how tall these flowers, these spent stalks are on the hosta. Brunnera, another great shade plant, underplanted with more of the carex. I'm really liking this combination here. I love these textures. You've got the grass, or the grassiness of the carex. Carex is not a grass, paired with the Brunnera. That's beautiful. And then on the other side is some lungwort, another good. I found that it's a really nice dry shade plant. It's worked well for me, even beneath my maple tree. So it may not be, you may not be as successful with it on yours, but in my experience, these things have done well. I had the Brunnera beneath my river birch, didn't fare so well there, so I had to move it and put it in another part of the garden where it did great. And then look at this grouping here. This is all hosta with a beautiful tree. And this hosta in the front, I planted this variety. This is Time in a Bottle. And I planted it because the flower stems have a purple coloring to them, and it holds their flowers longer. The flowers don't really open on this. So the flowers hang on quite a bit longer than regular hosta flowers. And the stems just look so pretty, kind of floating above that chartreuse colored hosta that's this here. But look at all the colors. And this is just hosta. And all the textures, different leaf shapes. So if you're into Hosta, this is definitely, a great place to come and get inspiration. Look at the flowers on this. And the fern down here, fern is just a lovely plant. This is a painted fern. Not sure the variety, but they also have one called crested surf. That one's further down. Another great shade plant. And crested surf has this little plume on the end of the leaves, the stems. Very cool looking. And then on the other side, there's some more brunnera. So you see plenty there's flowers obviously, but hostas are not really collected for their flowers. They're collected for the foliage. But there's so much you can do with them, and you weave in other textures like the fern and the heart-shaped of the brunnera, and then some grasses, some carex or some Hecanocloa grass. It's a really nice, easy planting. You've got some heuchera down here. Oh, here's more of that crested surf fern. And that is their shade garden. Now we're moving into a very sunny space. So this is all garden, you guys. And I want to show you this space right here. This is it's beautiful, very great on late season color, very textural. So these are some great plants. This is the treasure trove, Rudbeckia. There's Calamintha nepeta in here. There's some geranium, not sure which variety that is, but perennial geranium. Some grass, and then the echinacea here. There's some baptisia back there. And then Amsonia again, and some allium. So you've got really cool plants with great multi-season interest. That Calamintha nepeta, I always call it the United Nations plant because everything gathers here. I mean, bees will sleep on it for the night, and it's just full of activity in the late season garden. And there is also some really interesting, the seed heads on the Asclepias tuberosa, or milkweed. Look at the seed heads on this plant. So this is the monarch caterpillar host plant, or one of them, and very cool seed heads, and those are the orange flowers. And adds another texture to the garden with the Amsonia in the back. Now, yesterday I was in a field of Perovskia, or Russian sage, and I was thinking about it because I can't grow lavender. My soil's too dense. It stays too wet in the wintertime, but I can grow Perovskia. I do have a couple varieties. The one that is my favorite is one called Denim and Lace. And I was thinking, if you can't grow lavender, Perovskia might be a really nice substitute for that. Late season flower, very pollinator friendly, much easier to grow when you've got heavy clay, compact soil. So might be something to consider. The Denim and Lace gets to be about 2 feet tall, a little bit taller, but it has the same effect, and really just another very easy plant. And a beautiful water feature. Every garden should have some sort of a water feature. It's so soothing, and they've worked into this. There's catmint in here, there's salvias, agave, the astilbe, sedums, and some sort of a weeping cedar that's very interesting. And because I've just found another mangave. So look how beautiful it is by itself in a container. And it's so easy to keep that way. What variety is that? That is pineapple punch mangave. Throw it in a container, put it on a pedestal, and you've got a focal point. They've underplanted it with some fall in love sweetly anemone, more grass. Grass, guys, is the way to go. If you're looking for low maintenance, multi-season interest, movement in the garden, and pollinator friendliness, that is the way to go. And talk about more texture, another form, I think another weeping cedar form, some buddleia in here, another pennisetum. just so many interesting shapes and textures, and it's late August. And moving down, I see the plant that I was in love with, that I am in love with. This is the crocosmia down here. You can see it right in here. And the mangave, oh my. I just love that plant, you guys. It's so interesting. But this is the peach melba crocosmia again. And see how wispy it is? Man, it's so beautiful. With more buddleia back here. I wish I could grow it. I just don't have a whole lot of luck with it. I mean, the pugsters work best for me, but I can, appreciate them in another garden. And the baptisia that I mentioned earlier, and I talked about seed heads, these are those interesting seed heads. So see, hear it? So it's another interesting element, for later in the season. So you get the flowers on it in the spring. The interesting foliage, it's a member of the pea family. And then you've got the seed pods. Just a cool plant. But it's also taprooted. So if you decide you want to put baptisia in your garden, you want to plant it and forget it. Not forget it as far as, care of it, but you don't want to transplant it. The taproot, they do not transplant well. So really think about where you're going to put that plant because you want to leave it alone. That's where you want it to be. Another interesting pairing, and I have this plant here, that's a sambucus or elderberry called Laced Up. And great texture, great dark color, and they've underplanted it with more sedum. Look how simple that is. So you've got a shrub in there and some sedum. You've got two plants that look really cool together and very low maintenance. Now we're looking at a crevice garden. So these are plants that like really, really sharp drainage. And so you can see that this is, all these cement pieces were made from the foundation of a home that used to sit here on the property. So they used those foundation pieces to create a crevice garden. So all of these plants, they might be alpine plants, there's catmint in here, there's delosperma. So it really speaks to knowing what type of conditions you have and what plants are going to thrive there. So these are plants that really do love the sharp drainage. They like full sun. So it's all about right plant, right place. These are plants that love this growing condition. And earlier in the video, I mentioned a moon garden. Moon gardens are gardens that are created for, a lot of people do it because maybe they're not home during the day to appreciate the garden. So they want to plant a garden for the evening enjoyment where they can sit out there and flowers will glow, foliage will glow. So things like the Artemisia down here, I think is that silver brocade? I always forget the name of that. Silver lining, I'll put it on the screen. But some white buddleia. There's some cookies and cream hibiscus back here. There's dark sedums and there's some, there's all kinds of plants in here. But the theme is black and white. So the black sets the white off and vice versa. And there's mangave in here. There's some white diamonds, dianthus with more of the dark sedum. And then there's calamintha nepeta woven through here. More of the hibiscus. Planting a moon garden might be the way to go, and focusing on plants with maybe dark foliage or silver foliage, white flowers, things that would glow as the sun is setting. And one more stop before I sign off. So this is the shadier side of that moon garden, and there's some Fall in Love Sweetly anemone, but look at the flowers, and I need to find out which Hosta this is. Look at the flowers on this Hosta. Just spills over into the path. I don't know who this is. I'm thinking it might be curly fries. I'm not sure. I'll find out and put it on the screen. And that's Walter's Gardens, guys. Thanks for joining me on the walkthrough. And if there's anything in this video that you have questions about, definitely reach out, drop it in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.